Welcome to January 2020 Energy Trends. I'm Danielle Rama Hoffman of DivineTransmissions.com. This is Toth with an expanded Council of Light moving more into the forefront of this divine transmission. We are delighted to be continuing our energy trends conversation in this new year, this new decade, this new paradigm, and that we would speak a little bit more about the energy trends in 2020, and that this year is, like all others, made up of units of consciousness that can be described as now moments. Now moments. This now moment, 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 the solar ray, this now moment, the now ray, this now moment, the solar ray, the now ray, this now moment. And that as 2020 is made up of now moments, and also the month of January, and that you recognize that you are a creator being, that you are a divine being, that you are a multidimensional being, a multidimensional leader, that as you recognize that you are creating each now moment, and that within each now moment, there is a unique microclimate. There is a unique ecosystem to each now moment. And that from this recognition that you are creating 2020, you're creating 2020 based on your choice, that the way that you create 2020 is by recognizing that each now moment has its own ecosystem. It has its own multidimensionality. It has its own multifaceted nature. And that as much as you can be fluid, and we know that this is very different than the linear way of experiencing time in the old paradigm, as much as you can be fluid with each now moment and each microclimate, each ecosystem of your creation of each now moment, as much as you can be fluid with them not being exactly the same as the next now moment, then the more momentum you'll gain in 2020. And 2020 is a year of momentum. It is a year of momentum. So how it is that you utilize this momentum and utilize all the momentum that's been built thus far is by being fluid in your awareness, being in that flow state, being willing in your consciousness, even when it seems to just be like beyond what you can wrap your mind around, that this now moment has its own unique ecostructure, and that the next now moment has its own unique one, even though you don't necessarily change. So this is what we're getting at, that energy is always in motion, that there's much that has been known and discovered, what you as a multidimensional leader, what you as a creator being, what you as a mystic, you as a visionary, you as a new paradigm shifter, what you've known for a long time, that this is also being spoken about more and more and more in what you could call mainstream ways. Everything is energy, that you're made up of 99.9999999% space and the quantum field and all of that. So when you recognize that all is energy, that even when you see your table, or even when you see your hair or your body, or something that seems fixed, something that seems static, something that seems like it's not changing, it's changing. And it depends on what dimension you're looking at it within. So if you take your body, for example, each now moment, the ecosystem of your body is different. And if you look at your body, you may not see this exactly from one nanosecond to the next. Yet if you were to look at your cells under the microscope, you would see there's lots moving. There's trillions of cells that are moving and evolving. So this flow to really bend almost your vision of things being fixed and static, even though you know everything is organic, everything is alive, everything is evolving, that, as we often speak about, the Divine Expansion Project is what we're up to, that the divine is expanding, and what expands the divine is different than what used to expand the divine. So as much fluidity and flow that you can have in 2020 to be in each unit of consciousness, each now moment, as its own universe, as its own ecosystem. And that as each one is in its optimal vibration, that then begins to create momentum. It begins to create momentum and flow and flow. And then the other thing that we would say about 2020, and one way to develop this skill, before we go into the next thing we would say about 2020, one way to develop this skill is just to notice also how flexible you are. Because sometimes you have an idea of what your day is going to be like, or what the next 5 minutes is going to be like. And then something comes into your field or into your life, conversation with someone, a request from someone. We don't mean letting yourself be distracted. Yet there can be a recognition of, are you flexible with what the now moment is bringing to you, in the sense that it doesn't irritate you, or it doesn't throw you off balance. You can let information input come in. And again, we're not speaking about sometimes, for example, if you know that your choice in 2020 is really to be doing and being your highest level contribution and expressing what it is that you came to the Earth Star to express, and to be in that high vibe frequency, that there's a certain focus to that as well, where you don't get distracted by checking your email 100 times a day, when you know what you're really called to do is to create your art, or to whatever the thing is. So we're not talking about flexibility in the sense that you are reacting and mutating yourself based on what the input of the now moment is. Yet we are speaking about when you have a fixed idea of what a now moment's going to be like, and something else happens, how is it that you regulate in that moment? How is it that you're resilient in that moment? How is it that you respond to that moment? Good. So the other thing we wanted to say about 2020, and we have the year to unpack all of these now moments, is also that there is this even greater capacity to be calibrating consciously a now moment. And that the 20 and the 20 becomes 4. And so there are 2 2s and 2 0s in 2020. There's 2 20s. So there's also this sense of the, like if you see 1111 on the clock, when there is the repetition of numbers and energies like 2020, and there are 2 2s and 2 0s, 2 spheres and 2 20s, that when it's like that, it means exponential. It's a wink, it's a nod, it's a indication that there's something that's really also being grokked on a very, 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 very deep level. On a very deep level. So we know that many of you have been on this path of evolution, what many call ascension, and there's been much talk of evolving from the 3rd dimension to the 4th dimension. 2019 was a 3-year, and 2020 is a 4-year, 4th dimension, and not a 4 that's made up of a 1 plus a 3, or a 4 that's made up of a 5 minus a 1. It's a 4 that's made up by 2 20s reducing down to a 4. 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2. So there is also, how to say, you may pick up on an energy stream that you began as well in 2018, and we don't want you to go back into 2018, yet you may notice as 2018, the 2 and the 1 and the 8 becoming 11, becoming a 2, that 2018 was a 2-year, that the 2 that got developed in 2018, and it may even be something literal, like something you started in 2018, a way of being, really comes to fruition and flourishment in 2020. So we invite you to play and notice where there is a call to really go deep into something, to have the support of an energy that also repeats itself. And it's not repeating itself in the same way, yet it's like when you put something in bold and then you make it a big font, and then maybe you even highlight it, and maybe even put it in a bright color, or you underscore, like that's 2020. That's 2020. And it's 2020, new paradigm, new consciousness. What if you were a pioneer, an explorer in 2020 of having as many of those micro units of consciousness in the new paradigm? You know all there is to know about duality. You know all there is to know about survival consciousness. You know the ins and outs of your old stories. And there is a time and a place for that. We're not saying to not do your deep transformational work if that is what the now moment is calling from within you. Yet, what if it's already done? And now you're bringing your attention to all is well, now what? This is the now what? This is the now what year? This is the now what year? This is the now what year? So for those of you who've been tuning in with us for very long, we often don't give a very specific guideline of this or that or and we would give one here. We would place one on the altar. That there's also a very crystalline nature to 2020. That crystals, like the micro units of the trillions of cells in your body and the water in your body, the quantum field, the space that's only love, that's only light, the field of infinite possibilities, that you can impress upon the space of the 99.9999% of you with certain frequencies and vibrations: love, appreciation, co-creation, abundance, joy, all of those kinds of things. Just like a crystal can be a carrier of information. A crystal in alignment with the crystal's choice can choose to carry certain qualities. Just like in the messages of water, from Water book, that there are the water crystals that are photographed when they've been imbued or invited with a certain vibration, like love. And so we'd invite you, if you're called, to get a crystal or to dedicate a crystal that you already have to be your 2020 crystal. And we invite you to carry it with you. And we invite you to put it on your nightstand when you go to bed. And to have it be a companion with you in 2020. And it doesn't have to be something huge or that you have to go and get. It may already be in your world. Yet, what if the crystal, because there's a real crystalline energy that's coming on into the planet even more, being turned on even more in 2020, that the crystal will support your system and your system will support the crystal that's dedicated to your 2020 with this, I can be different in this now moment than the previous now moment, kind of a flow. Good. So have fun with it. And we are very delighted about 2020 and that fresh air kind of a feeling that it also is bringing in. That sense of everything having led up to this now moment. And now it's time for the now what. Now it's time for the now what. Now it's time for the now what. All is light and love, and we are.